Okay, I suggest we get started. So good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for tonight's share. We're delighted to be joined by Rabbi Shalom Rosner, Rav of the Nofei HaShemesh community in Bet Shemesh and a Ram at Yeshiva Keren B'Yavneh, who will be giving us the share tonight. I've posted a link to the source sheet in the group chat, and I'll just post that again. Apologies, it will need rotating via a little icon in the top right of the screen, but if you have any issues, please let me know via the chat. But without further ado, I will hand over to Rabbi Rosner. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the invitation and the chance to spread the Torah of Eretz Yisrael in ways that we never thought possible in previous generations. Now we could just be sitting here in Beit Shemesh and spreading Torah to the UK. But Baruch Hashem, Torah is Ma'achid, ultimate uniter of all generations. And that's Baruch Hashem what we're going to do tonight through sources and trying to get an appreciation of a very important topic. The topic that was chosen was, again, the sources were sent out on your chat. If feel free to follow along, or you can look at them afterwards. Magical experience of Shabbos and Yantif. Appreciate Shabbos, Yantif. We hope the next Yantif is going to be Tisha B'Av or even Shavas B'Tammuz before then. That's what we hope for. But appreciating the connection and the similarities, differences, and how they relate to each other, Shabbos and Yantif. So we start off with the Parshas HaMoadim. We know there's a Parshas HaMoadim in Vayikra and in Bamidbar and in Dvarim. Emar and Pinchas and Re'eh, all with a different focus, and we will focus on the one in Emar, Shabbos and Yantif. So let's start with source number one, where you have Vayedaber Hashem Moshe Lemar. Hashem says to Moshe, I am now going to tell you all about the holidays. Here are the Moadim. Moadei Hashem Asher Tikro Samikra Kodesh. These are the Moadim. Ele Haim Moadai. So what would we expect? What would be the first Moed? Maybe we would think Rosh Hashanah. Maybe we would think Pesach. Those are probably the two choices. Here are the Moadim. What's the first one that the Torah mentions? Sheishas Yamim Te'aseh Malacha. Or Yom HaShvi. Shabbos Shabbos Nikra Kodesh. Shabbos? Shabbos is one of the Moadim? What's Shabbos doing here? Shabbos is Shabbos. Moed is Moed. What Shabbos doing here? Shabbos Hil Hashem B'chol Moshvotzeichem. Unusual. And then it's fascinating. As if the Torah recognizes that it's somewhat unusual. What's the next pasuk? It's a reintroduction. It's start again. It's a reboot. These are the Moadim. What do you mean these are the Moadim? You already said that. You already said these are the Moadim 2 psukim ago. And you started with Shabbos. And now again, these are the Moadim. And then we start with Pesach. And we go. Pesach, Shavuos, Rosh Hashanah, Kippur, Sukkot, as it continues. The question is just the Pshuto Shel Mikra. What's the Torah trying to tell us about Shabbos and its relation to Yantif? Shabbos and Moed? Shabbos part of it's in Parshas HaMoadim, and yet it has its own separate introduction to the Parshas HaMoadim. The question is, what exactly is going on here? Is Shabbos part or apart from all the other holidays? And again, this is something that we have to think about. Shabbos is 1/7 of our life, right? We spend a lot of time preparing for mitzvos, for shofar, and for Pesach, and for so much. Shabbos is 1/7 of our life. We have to try to appreciate what is that experience. What are we supposed to feel every 7 days? Right? That's the ultimate in Kedusha. So that's our job tonight, to try to appreciate what we're supposed to feel, and also, of course, the holidays. The how is Shabbos connected to the Moadim, and how is it not? Rashi already picks up on this. Rashi already tells us there, in the beginning of Perach Gimel, in Emor, Sheishas Yamim, Ma Inyan Shabbos Eitz HaMoados. What is Shabbos doing here? Shabbos is not a Moed, Rashi is asking. Pshuto. What's it doing here? Well, to teach you. If somebody desecrates the holidays, it's kilo, they desecrated the Shabbos. If somebody fulfills the holidays, as if he fulfilled the Shabbos. So again, Rashi is already reflecting and emphasizing there's a connection. What is that connection? Because on the surface, we know Shabbos and Yom Tov are very different, as we will talk about soon. But what exactly is the Torah trying to tell us in the Torah Shabbat? So what we're going to have tonight, we're going to talk about three ideas. Two shorter ones and one more elaborate. First, the two shorter ones. Rav Moshe Feinstein says the Drash Moshe, source number 3, quoting Rashi, and trying to explain what does it mean. And if you keep Yom Tov, it's like you kept Shabbos, and if you don't keep Yom Tov, it's if you didn't keep Shabbos. Says Rav Moshe, Nire B'Piyur Hadvarim, Shabbos Harayu Tachlis Ha'emuna B'Brias Ha'olam. Shabbos is a recognition of God as the Borei, as the Creator. Umitam zeh, hamachalo Shabbos, chas v'shalom, keep it covered, matzah breishis. If we deny Shabbos, we're denying the Creator. We're denying that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world in 6 days, rested on the 7th. Shabbos is Borei. Yontif is manhig, is continuous and continual involvement and in charge and omnipotent in the world. Hashem is the unique, exclusive manhig in the world. And he uses nature for what he wants. Right? Korach, Balak, donkeys, and ground opening, and water. Right? The whole world is a tool in God's hands. Shabbos is Borei, Yom Tov is manhig. And it's a team effort, says Rav Moshe. It's a team into what we have to believe. When Hashem took us out of Egypt, he took us on the clouds of glory, and he gave us bread from heaven, and he gave us water, and he flattened the mountains, and our feet grew, and our shoes grew with us. Says Rav Moshe Feinstein, one belief is matching the other. And if we're missing one, it's not just that we're missing one. If we're missing one, we're missing everything. Because if I believe, says Rav Moshe, Emuna b'chati davar eino klum, half belief affects the whole Emuna. If I believe that God created the world, but I don't believe that he's still involved and is managing the world, that affects even my belief as God is the Borei. Because why did he create the world if he was going to leave? And the opposite. If I believe that God is still involved in the world, but I don't believe that God created the world, that's a pagam, that's a stain even on his involvement in the world. Because it's a package. Right? Adon Olam and Yigdal have some of those powerful messages in our religion. Right? We think that we say them in when we're very young, and we say them in grade school. They're so powerful. Every line of Adon Olam and of Yigdal, which of course are the Yesodos Emuna, says Rav Moshe, Emuna in half of something is not something. Adon, Shem Yamin Hashem Yisbarach Paras Ha'olam, Avo Yatel Omar. If I recognize that Hashem created the world, but I mistakenly believe Shan Hagat Ha'olam Masar B'Yad Acherim, God's a busy God, he has other things to do. He gave it over even to angels, Sarei Mala, Ukeinu Mamin Babri. That's a reflection that undermines the Bria Emuna. Because why did he create the world if he's not going to be involved? And the opposite. If it wasn't the creator, then how the world become created? Says Rav Moshe, that's Shabbos and Yom Tov. That's message number 1. Shabbos is part of the Moados. And what does Rashi say? If somebody is Mekayim the Moados, he's Mekayim Shabbos. and Mechal the Moados, he's Mechal Shabbos. Because Bria and Hanhaga need to go together. Idea number one. Number two, a second idea. Two of the great Achronim suggest a similar idea. Rabbi Tzadok HaKohen and Reb Soloveitchik. Reb Tzadok was earlier. Reb Tzadok was nifter in 1900. Reb Soloveitchik was born in 1903, I think. Nifter in 1993. Says Rabbi Tzadok in the Pri Tzadok in source number 4. And Reb Soloveitchik. Shabbos and Yantif on the surface are very different. Shabbos, as we know, the Gemara tells us in Maseches Beisa, is kfiyah v'kaim, it's fixed. Shabbos can't move. Shabbos is not up to human beings. And Yantif, of course, is, it's up to man, Bezdin to decide when Yantif is going to be. It says Rabbi Tzadok, it says Reb Soloveitchik, even though on the surface it seems to be very different, there's an overlap. There's a Yantif element even in Shabbos. There's a Shabbos element even in Yantif. And that's why Shabbos is here. We think Shabbos, Hashem does Shabbos, Kfiyah V'Kaima, Hashem decides when it is. Yes, in terms of when Shabbos and Yantif is, that's a big difference. In terms of what Shabbos and Yantif is, the experience of Shabbos and Yantif, they're brought closer together. Says Rabbi Tzadok, Shabbos has nothing to do with man. It's only about God? No. Says Rabbi Tzadok, we also take part in the creation of Shabbos, not when it is, but what it is. Every single day of the week, Hayom Yom Rishon, L'Shabbos, Hayom Yom Sheni, L'Shabbos. What are we doing? We are creating our Shabbos experience, which is like a Yantif idea. Yantif is when man creates. No, Shabbos also. Shabbos is also partially created by man. Again, not when it is, but what it is. V'shamu v'nei is also Shabbos. Says Rabbi Tzadok on line 6. We say in Kiddush, Shabbos is Tchila, which means the source of Mikra Kodesh. What do you mean it's the source of Mikra Kodesh? What does Shabbos have to do with Yantif? The answer is yes, it's the source. It's the source, as we say in L'Chadodi also. Besides the set Kedusha that Hashem makes, Nasan Hashem Yisbarach HaKoach Yisrael, Hashem gives us power to help create Shabbat's experience. It's not just about what God does. We do it as well. Reb Soloveitchik even gave an unbelievably beautiful mashal. The Gemara says that we know there are 3 mitzvot that have to do with firstborns. 3 mitzvot. Pidyon haben, right, the firstborn, and the chamor, the firstborn.
Rabbi, sorry, we're losing you a little bit.
And Bechor Behemoth Tahor. Somebody has a sheep, the sheep has a firstborn animal. What? Sorry?
Where your connection was cutting out, but I think it sounds like you're back now.
Now?
Yeah, just from the 3 mitzvahs relating to the Bechor. That's where we lost you.
That's fine. We're good?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So it says Reb Soloveitchik. The halacha is, we know there's a mitzvah of Bechor Behemoth Tahora. A Bechor of a firstborn kosher animal. Gemara says, even though it's automatic, it's a Bechor, period. I don't do anything. Right when it's born, it has Kedusha. You know what the Gemara says? Mitzvah lahakdisha. It's a mitzvah to sanctify it. A mitzvah to say, Zeh Bechor. What am I doing? It's automatic. Kedusha is automatic. It has nothing to do with me. Mitzvah lahakdisha. I add an element of sanctity when I say, I'm makdish. Says Reb Soloveitchik, that's what we do at Kiddush. We think Shabbos is just Shabbos from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. No. We add our own element. Mitzvah lahakdisha. when we make Kiddush Friday night, we create a deeper and more intense Shabbos experience. We're not going to read the whole thing, but I gave it to you in source number 5, from one of the Yartzeit Shiurim, where Reb Soloveitchik develops this idea that Shabbos also has a Yontif element. And one might say Yontif has a Shabbos element. We decide when Yontif is, but of course God creates the Isra Malacha, the nature of not being able to do Malachas on Yontif. So says Reb Soloveitchik and says Rabbi Tzadok, our second idea. Though it seems on the surface very different, Shabbos and Yontif, there's an overlap between them. We could add to the Shabbos experience, and God also adds to the Yontif experience. These are the first two ideas. Number one, Rav Moshe, Borei, and Manhig. Number two, the overlap between Shabbos and Yontif. Now let's get to a third and final idea, which is going to be a little more elaborate in terms of its scope. The relationship between Shabbos and Yontif. Let's talk about Shabbos for a moment. Shabbos, we know, is the ultimate in Kedusha. We know the Gemara tells us in Megillah that a weekday has 3 aliyos. Chol HaMoed, Rosh Chodesh has 4 aliyos. Yontif has 5 aliyos. We hold Yom Kippur has 6 aliyos. Shabbos has 7 aliyos. Shabbos is the ultimate. Shabbos is also called Shabbos Shabbason. Gemara even tells us in Maseches Beitza and Shabbos that Shabbos is called the Matana Tova. Amalek HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe, Matana Tova Yeshli Bebeis Genazai. I have an amazing gift I want to give you in my storage house, and it's called Shabbos. And ask the Achronim, why is Shabbos called a gift? But Sukkot is not called a gift. Purim is not a gift. Everything's a gift. Why dafka is Shabbos a gift? It explains the Aruch HaShulchan and others. Explains the Aruch HaShulchan 120 years ago. I would ask you, does it make sense that the Greeks do not celebrate Hanukkah? Does it make sense that the Babylonians don't celebrate Sukkot? Of course it makes sense. Those are historical experiences that the nation went through that they didn't go through. So it makes perfect sense that all of our holidays are not celebrated by the other nations. They're historical experiences that our ancestors went through. When it comes to Shabbos, Shabbos is Zeicher L'Maaseh Bereishis. Zeicher L'Maaseh Bereishis, who should keep Shabbos? Logically, every human being. Every human being is Zeicher L'Maaseh Bereishis. Every human being was created. And yet, Hashem says they're not allowed to keep Shabbos. It's dafka. That shows that Hashem loves us. Because all the other ones, of course, didn't go to the other nations. Shabbos could have gone to the other nations, and it didn't, and it wasn't given. That shows the special love HaKadosh Baruch Hu has for Am Yisrael. Am I frozen again?
No, we've still got you.
You still with me?
Yeah.
Okay, some of you got a little frozen. Feel free. So that's why it says the Aruch HaShulchan. That's why Dafka Shabbos is a Matana Tova. And we even say that every Shabbos morning. What do we say in davening? Lo nisato lo yeharatzos. Lo enchalto lo obdei tesilim. Thank you for not giving Shabbos to the other nations. Don't say that on a Yom Tov morning. Or why give it Shabbos to the other nations? And it wasn't. That shows Hashem's special love for us. We even know that Shabbos is called an os. Osi b'nei b'nechem. The Chavetz Chaim gives a mashal. You might have heard this mashal already. Chavetz Chaim says, imagine there's a store, Yossi Shoes. Yossi Shoe Store has a big sign on the store, Yossi Shoes. When you go past the store, you know it's Yossi Shoes. Let's say it's nighttime, and the store is locked up. But you see, Yossi went home for the night. Yossi Shoes, he's still there. What happens if Yossi goes on vacation for 2 weeks? Okay, so you see it's locked for a while, but Yassi's going to come back. What happened to him? Then all of a sudden, where's Yassi? What happened to Yassi? Is he okay? Once the sign's not there, then you start wondering. Shabbos is our sign. Shabbos, Zecher, right? It's the Osi B'nei B'neichem. As long as a Jew has Shabbos, he's identified as a Jew. We even know what's the cutoff when there's a Baal Tshuva who's becoming more observant. What's like the litmus test? What's the big hump? Shmir Shabbos. That's the identity. Says the Chafetz Chaim, Osi B'nei B'neichem. This is the godless of Shabbos. How do we prepare for Shabbos? And this we're going to get into the crux of our issue. The Rambam lists off 4 mitzvahs aseh. We don't have time to go into all of them now. Or 4 mitzvahs, I should say. Zachar, Shamar, and Kavod and Oneg. How do we do Kavod Shabbos? Says the Rambam. The Rambam lists off 4 activities in Perek Lamed Halacha Beis. Eizeu Kavod. Zeu Shamar Chachamim. The mitzvah Adam Lechas Panav Yod V'Raglav B'Chamin. Number 1, to wash. Take a shower. A shower on Friday is not just because we're hot and sweaty, but because of Shabbos. Number 1, wash. Number 2, says the Rambam, misatef tzitzis. To garb ourselves, to wrap ourselves in special tzitzis, talis. Number 3, yoshev ovid rosh, sitting with anticipation. Miyachel l'hakalas b'nei Shabbos, getting ready for Shabbos. Number 4, Chasidim Arishonim, Chachamim Arishonim Makabtzin Talmideihem Umisathin, gathering in groups and getting ready to accept Shabbos. What does the Rambam say? Washing, wrapping in a talis, sitting with anticipation, gathering in groups. Says Rav Soloveitchik. It's fascinating if you think about it. The same 4 ways that we get ready for Shabbos is the way that we get ready for another religious experience. Same 4 activities. Tefillah. Davening. We're supposed to wash our hands before we daven. We don't wash our bodies, but we wash our hands. We wear a talis when we daven. We don't wear a talis the whole day. Dafka when we daven, we're makbid. Number 3, sitting with anticipation. We're supposed to sit a little bit before we daven. Hasidim Arishonim Ha'ishom Sha'achas. So sitting in it with anticipation. Number 4, gathering in groups. Tefillah b'tzibur. What's the message? Says Reb Soloveitchik, the same 4 activities that the halacha demands to get ready for Shabbos is the way that we get ready for Tefillah. What's the connection between the 2? Says Reb Soloveitchik, it must be based on what my grandfather said. Reb Chaim Soloveitchik has a very famous thought in the world of Reb Chaim's. He discusses a contradiction between 2 Rambams. One Rambam says you have to have kavanah for the entire davening, the entire Amidah. And another Rambam says only the first bracha. Avos. Says Reb Chaim, there are 2 types of kavanah. 2 types of intent. One type of intent is to know what the words mean. You should try to know what all the words mean, but at least the first bracha. There's a deeper idea of intent. It's even deeper than intent. It's part of the definition of what we're doing, really. And what's that? Knowing that we're talking to God. Knowing that we're standing in front of Hashem. Omeid lifnei melech. That's the experience of prayer. We're in front of Hashem. We're talking to God. That's Reb Chaim. And that kavanah, he says you have to have the whole davening. At least to know we're standing in front of Hashem, even if we don't know what the words mean. Says Rav Soloveitchik, that's what Shabbos is. Shabbos is a 25-hour-a-week intense experience. We get to have a private meeting with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's why we prepare in the same way for Shabbos and for prayer. Because it's the same at-root experience. It's all about connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a deep way. It's a beautiful thought from the Shemi Shmuel. Shemi Shmuel says, maybe you've wondered this sometimes. There's a minhag of Chai Yisrael to say Shalom Aleichem when we come in on Friday night. Gemara says, Malachim accompany us on the way home, and we sing, right? We say, Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharetz. We say, Barachem L'Shalom, Barachuni L'Shalom, Teischem L'Shalom. Teischem L'Shalom. You want him to leave already? They just got here. But you don't want angels at your meal? We love angels at the meal. What's wrong with angels? Why we take Teischem L'Shalom? So some say it means, whenever they leave, have a Teischem L'Shalom. Says the Shemi Shmuel. No. As we finish Shalom Aleichem and we come to the Shabbos table, we say to the Malachim, sorry, even you can't stay. It's just us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A Jew has yichud with HaKadosh Baruch Hu at the Suda Shabbos. And even the Malachim can't stay. Teischem L'Shalom. That's what Shabbos is. 25-hour experience every week, just like tefillah is. And that's why we prepare for it in the same way as we do for tefillah. It says Rav Soloveitchik now. Let's ask some questions, though, because is this exactly what Yontif is too? Again, we're all heading towards the third approach to the connection between Shabbos and Yontif. 3 questions Rav Soloveitchik asked about the difference between Shabbos and Yontif. Question 1. Why is there only Kabbalah Shabbos and not Kabbalah Yontif? Sometimes we feel like we get gypped. Like we want Kabbalah. Unless it's Chol HaMoed, we only say Mizmar Shir. If we're lucky, we daven Sfard, so we at least have the first 2 L'chadodis, the last 2. So why is there only Kabbalah Shabbos? No Kabbalah Yontif. Question 1. Question 2. We know the halacha is that Yontif breaks Avelis. Somebody is, Rachmana Litzlan sitting Shiva or in Shloshim, Yontif breaks it. Shabbos does it. Shabbos counts. And Tosfos says why? Because Shabbos has Oneg. Oneg can coexist with Shiva. Yontif has Simcha. Simchas Yontif can't coexist with Avelis. And the question then is, so why is there Simchat Yontif and there's no Simchat Shabbos? Why is there no Simchat Shabbos? There's only Oneg. What's unique about the Yontif experience? So why is there Kabbalah Shabbos, not Kabbalah Yontif? Why? Number 2, why is there Avelis is broken by Yontif and not by Shabbos? Question 3, third and final question. Shulchan Aruch quote, Hagos Maimonides quotes that the Yontif clothing should be even more expensive than your Shabbos clothing. If somebody has a separate wardrobe for Shabbos and Yontif should have a even more expensive wardrobe. And the question is why? Shabbos is better than Shabbos. The 3 questions. Kabbalah Shabbos, clothing, and Avelis. Says Rav Soloveitchik, maybe to understand the difference between Shabbos and Yontif, we have to go to another area of halacha to try to understand the difference, and then we could return. Shabbos and Yontif. Beis Hamikdash and Beis HaKnesses. Says Reb asked what we know from the sources. Our shuls, our Batei Knesios, are Mikdashei Ma'at. They are small Batei Mikdash. And there are parallels between the two. The Mishnah says in Maseches Megillah, when a shul is desolate, it still has Kedusha. Just like if the Beis HaMikdash is desolate, it still has Kedusha, as we know. And it's based on the same pasuk. Hashimosi is Mikdasheichem. So there are parallels between the two. We have to have covered for a Beis HaKnesses, like we have for the Beis HaMikdash. And yet, we all know there are differences. We all keep our wallets in our pocket when we go into shul. You're not allowed to wear a money belt into Harabais. We keep our shoes on when we go into shul. You're not allowed to wear shoes in the Beis HaMikdash. So if the shul is paralleled after the Kedushas Beis HaMikdash, so why are there differences between them? The Gemara asked this question. Second place, the Gemara asks, why is it that you're not allowed to take a shortcut through a shul? You can wear shoes in a shul. It says Rava 2 words, which is the secret of everything, and then we'll wrap everything together. Rava says, Ki so. Shul is like yours. You wear shoes in your house, you can wear shoes in a shul. You won't let people take shortcuts through your living room. You can't take a shortcut through a shul. What does that mean? A shul is our house. Says Reb Soloveitchik in a yahrzeit shir for his father. Says Reb Soloveitchik. A shul, a Beis HaKnesses, and Beis HaMikdash are both places where we meet God. The question is, who's the host and who's the guest? Who's visiting whom? Beis HaMikdash, as we know, is God's house. We go to see him. He is the one who is hosting us. That's why there's a higher level. No shoes, no money belt. A shul, we also meet Hashem. You know what? He, Kaviyachol, comes to us on a conceptual level. He comes to us, we host him. So if we're hosting him, there's a different standard. If I meet the Prime Minister in the Prime Minister's house, there's a different than if he comes into my living room. They both are intense experiences where we meet Hashem. But the question is, who's the host and who is the guest? Let's return now. Says Rav Soloveitchik, maybe that's different as well between Shabbos and Yantif. Shabbos and Yantif is our days that we are connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everybody still with me? You hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shabbos and Yantif are days where we are connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The question is conceptually, who's visiting who? Who's the host? Who's who? Yantif, there's a lot of connection to us. Yantif is the host. We go to him. That's why there's no Kabbalah's Yantif. On a conceptual level, we are going to a God. We're going to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're meeting him. And that's why it breaks up Velus. There's a special simcha when Hashem is hosting us. And our clothes are even more expensive. Shabbos is more laid back. Shabbos, Hashem comes to us. It's like shul. There's Kabbalah Shabbos. Our clothing is a little nice, but not as. And Velus. It can exist. We have our own. We don't have simcha. Shabbos and Yom Tov both days meet HaKadosh Baruch Hu in an intense way. It's only the host and who's the guest. Maybe we could get back to our earlier question now. Remember our original question? What Shabbos doing in the Parshas HaMoedim? It's in there, but then there's another introduction, as if it's not supposed to be there, and it's supposed to be separated. So we said, oh, Rav Moshe Feinstein, Manig, and Borei. Number 2, we said Rabbi Tzadok. There's a little Shabbos and Yom Tov, there's a little Yom Tov and Shabbos. Maybe this is the third idea. Shabbos and Yom Tov are both days where we intensely meet HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Special yechidus that we have with him. But they're opposites. Shabbos isn't part, it's a separate part of Parshas HaMoedim. Because we meet him, he comes to us, or we go to him. The same parallel between Beis HaMikdash and Beis HaKnesses is the parallel between Shabbos and Yom Tov. So again, these are days that we look forward to. Our entire calendar counts towards Shabbos. Sam Sofer once said, interesting that in Judaism, let's say it this way, you always count towards what you look forward to. In Judaism, the day of rest is the last day of the week. For other nations, the first day of the week is the day of rest. In the days of old, there wasn't a weekend. It wasn't Saturday and Sunday that were off. It was just Sunday. Saturday was a work day. Right? Sunday was the only day that was off. So really Sunday, for many other religions, that's the day off. So you have the day of rest, and then you have work. We have 6 days of work, and then we have rest. We always head towards the goal. our goal is Shabbos. That's the goal. It's Tachlis Masei Shemaim Va'aretz. Here at Zone, that at this time period, as we started Tammuz, we appreciate every Shabbos, every Yontif, and maybe just to end with the Zohar. It's an amazing Zohar. It says there were 12 months of the year. 6 months were given to the Satan, and 6 months were given to Am Yisrael. Nisan Yer Sivan was given to Am Yisrael. Pesach Shavuos. Tammuz of Elul was given to the Satan. Dark months. Tammuz and Av. Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev was given to Am Yisrael. The Chagim, Chanukah, Tevei Shver Adar was given to the Satan. We took back Adar with the Purim story. We took back Elul with Shuvah. Mashiach will come when we take back the other 4 months. Tammuz Av, Tevei Shvat. We just started Tammuz. It's time for this year for Am Yisrael to take back Tammuz and take back Av and make these months that Am Yisrael have. Take them back from the Satan and Yiratzon, and we should be able to not only learn together virtually, but everyone, all of us, should be Zocheh, to be in Yerushalayim this time of year, this year, waiting for the next holiday. Bez Hashem, Shabbos, Tammuz, Tisha B'Av will be holidays this year. We still have time to do it, and Bez Hashem, the Meir of Yameinu, we should be able to be Zocheh to that together. Thank you very much for all of those who up the range this year, and even though this is a challenging time, it's wonderful to see everybody, and we should keep taking chizuk from each other, be able to learn together using all the technologies that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us. Have a great night. If there are any questions, I'll stay on a little bit. Feel free to ask. Nice to see some Talmidim on the Zoom. Great to see you. And Hashem, once a Talmud, always a Talmud. So great to see you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Rosner. If anyone has any questions, please do take yourself off mute and on.
Not such a question type cheer, but if anybody has anything to add, feel free. If not, you have my email. You could give them, and we should be zochet to appreciating every day of Shabbos and Yantif, and appreciating every day that Hashem gives us.
Right. Thank you very much indeed. Next week, everyone, we will just got to have Rabbi Belofsky speaking to us at a different time of 9 o'clock. Thank you very much again, Rabbi Rosner.
Sure. Have a good night.
Thank you, Rav.